The Christianization of Europe. The spread of Christianity across Europe during the medieval period represents a transformative epoch in the continent's history, marked by profound changes in cultural, intellectual, and political spheres. As Christian doctrine took root, it catalyzed the development of new social structures, unified diverse linguistic and political landscapes, and reshaped the cultural identity of Europe. The process began predominantly with the conversion of kings and rulers, whose acceptance of Christianity often precipitated the widespread adoption of the faith among their subjects. This phenomenon was not merely a religious conversion but a complex interplay of power, culture, and belief that profoundly influenced the trajectory of European history. The impact of Christianity on early medieval Europe. Following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century, Europe entered a period of profound transformation influenced by the spread of Christianity. This era, known as the Dark Ages, was marked by continuous wars, epidemics, and famines, leading to significant urban decline and deterioration. The loss of classical knowledge, a decrease in artistic and economic activity, and the fading of trade and crafts were notable during this time. Cities emptied, and the infrastructure that supported them crumbled, contributing to a period of significant regression in learning and the arts. The Catholic Church emerged as a principal unifying entity during this turbulent time. Clergy members, often the only literate members of society, played crucial roles in community organization, legal disputes, charity, and even defense against invasions, thus enhancing the Church's authority and importance. They organized and unified communities, acted as mediators in legal conflicts, provided necessary charity, and sometimes even led military defenses against barbarian invasions. This involvement greatly reinforced the Church's presence in society. The barbarian invasions introduced new demographic elements to the Roman populace, though pagan barbarians constituted only about 2 to 10% of the total population. Despite their minority status, the influence of the existing Christian majority was significant, often leading many barbarians to adopt Christianity to gain support and assimilate into Roman society. This process facilitated a cultural exchange where barbarians gradually adopted many aspects of Roman culture and customs, significantly impacting the social and cultural landscape of Europe. Traditionally, barbarian laws were preserved through oral tradition, a method ensuring that legal and cultural practices were memorized and communicated within communities. The encounter with Roman written law marked a significant shift. Influenced by Roman practices, barbarian leaders began documenting these laws, transitioning from oral to written traditions. This not only allowed for greater consistency and permanence in the application of laws but also facilitated the merging of barbarian and Roman legal concepts, laying foundational elements for European legal systems. The baptism of the barbarians, a pivotal event in European history, facilitated the merging of Germanic barbarian and classical Roman cultures. This cultural synthesis, underpinned by shared Christian values, was crucial in forming a unified Christian European civilization. It laid the groundwork for the development of modern European nations and their shared heritage, marking a major turning point in the continent's history. This blending of cultures and traditions helped stabilize the region and fostered the emergence of a common European identity. The development and influence of papal authority. The Catholic Church's foundation for the Pope's role as the head of the bishops is rooted in the doctrine that Jesus personally appointed Peter as the first head of the Church. This apostolic succession is critical, with each pope viewed as Peter's successor, inheriting the same authority Peter was given. This theological position underscores the unique status of the Pope within Catholic ecclesiology, linking papal authority directly to divine will as expressed by Jesus. The Church's dogmatic constitution, Lumen Gentium, a key document from the Second Vatican Council, clarifies the roles of apostles and bishops. It emphasizes that bishops are the successors of the apostles, continuing their pastoral mission and authority within the Church. The Pope, as the successor of Saint Peter, holds a special position as the head of the bishops, analogous to Peter's role among the apostles. This distinction is pivotal in understanding the structured nature of church authority and the theological basis for papal primacy. During the early Middle Ages, the Catholic Church played a crucial role in preserving the cultural heritage of classical antiquity. Many clergy members, hailing from noble and educated Roman families, were familiar with classical literature and philosophy. They endeavored to integrate the ideas of ancient philosophers with Christian teachings, ensuring the survival and continuation of classical knowledge during a period where much could have been lost. Saint Augustine, a highly influential figure in the early Church, significantly utilized the ideas of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato to develop key Christian doctrines. Augustine's engagement with Platonic philosophy helped bridge the gap between classical intellectual traditions and emerging Christian thought, profoundly influencing Christian theology and the development of Western philosophical and theological thought. The early medieval clergy, many of whom were well-educated and from culturally rich Roman backgrounds, sought to find connections between classical philosophy and Christian teachings. This integrative approach allowed them to leverage the intellectual rigor of ancient philosophers like Plato and Aristotle to enrich and explain Christian doctrine. This effort was crucial for the intellectual evolution of Europe, fostering a synthesis of knowledge that was essential for the intellectual development of the Church and European society. In the early days of Christianity, bishops played a central role in leading Christian communities, especially in urban settings. These bishops were responsible for the spiritual, administrative, and pastoral care of the community, serving not just as religious leaders but also as organizers and representatives of their congregations in broader civic and ecclesiastical spheres. Pope Gregory I, also known as Gregory the Great, made several profound contributions to the Catholic Church during his papacy in the 6th century. He established the Pope's independence from secular powers, reformed church rituals, mandated celibacy for the clergy, and promoted the use of what came to be known as Gregorian chant. These reforms and initiatives significantly strengthened the spiritual and administrative structure of the Church, reinforcing the Pope's role as the spiritual leader of the Catholic Church. Pope Gregory I significantly enhanced the authority and prestige of the papal office. By declaring the Pope's independence from secular rulers and making significant reforms such as the introduction of mandatory celibacy for clergy and the establishment of Gregorian chant, Gregory I positioned the Pope as the ultimate spiritual authority in the Catholic Church. These actions not only consolidated church practices but also elevated the Pope's spiritual and administrative status within and outside the Church. The Papal State, a theocratic entity in what is now Italy, was established in the mid-8th century with the support of the Frankish kings. This support was crucial in creating a sovereign territory under the direct control of the Pope, marking a significant development in the relationship between the Church and European political powers, and enhancing the temporal authority of the papacy. During the medieval period, popes began to assert that their authority was the highest in the Christian world, surpassing that of secular rulers. They claimed that as spiritual leaders, their power was divinely sanctioned and that secular rulers should be subordinate to the papal authority. This stance led to frequent conflicts with secular powers, who resisted the idea of papal supremacy. Throughout the Middle Ages, there was a continual power struggle between the Church and secular authorities. While the popes claimed supreme authority over all Christian rulers, many secular leaders did not accept this and instead sought to assert their independence. This often led to attempts to influence or control the papacy itself, resulting in a complex and ongoing conflict between the two powers over the control of political and spiritual aspects of medieval society. This conflict shaped much of medieval European history, reflecting the tension between spiritual doctrine and temporal power. Monastic traditions. Some early Christians in Egypt and Syria chose a life as hermits or ascetics because they believed that removing material and worldly distractions would enhance their spiritual understanding and bring them closer to God. This deep commitment to personal spiritual growth reflected a focus on the divine over worldly gains. These early ascetics initially lived solitary lives but sometimes came together in communities for mutual support and religious services in a communal living arrangement known as a lavra. In these communities, they maintained their individual ascetic practices while gathering only for religious ceremonies, under the leadership of an abba, or abbot. This setup allowed them to focus on personal spiritual practices while benefiting from communal support. Pachomios, a former soldier in Egypt, was instrumental in transforming these early monastic practices by founding the first Cenobitic monasteries where monks lived, worked, and worshipped together in a communal lifestyle. Inspired by the organizational efficiency of Roman army camps, his model included a daily routine with all property held in common and structured under the administration of an abbot. This communal model marked a significant innovation in monastic life and became the standard during the Byzantine period. The impact of Pachomios' Cenobitic monasteries was profound, helping to stabilize and spread monasticism throughout the Byzantine Empire. His approach influenced the religious and cultural landscape significantly by providing a more organized way of monastic living that balanced individual and communal spiritual practices. As monasticism spread, it influenced the wider medieval society in numerous ways. Monasteries became centers of education, culture, and healthcare. They served as the primary keepers of knowledge and scholarly traditions, preserving classical and religious texts, and contributing to the intellectual and cultural development of Europe. Monks played crucial roles in advancing agriculture by introducing new plants and better cultivation methods, which benefited the broader society. Monks also often served as scribes and advisors in the courts of nobility and royalty, due to their rare ability to read and write. This made them key intellectual and bureaucratic figures within medieval governance. Additionally, the high regard in which monks were held often led to significant donations of land and resources from the faithful and nobility, enhancing the monastic community's ability to engage in cultural, educational, and agricultural projects. The influence of monasteries extended to enhancing the Church's influence over medieval society. By serving as centers of culture, education, and political advice, monasteries helped solidify the Church's position as a central pillar of power and stability, making them indispensable to kings and nobility who often relied on monastic communities for guidance and support. Overall, the development and proliferation of monastic orders during the medieval period had a lasting impact on European society, shaping its religious, cultural, and political landscape in profound ways. Spreading Christianity in the Roman Empire and beyond. During the Roman Empire, Christianity was primarily prevalent in urban centers. The dense populations and interconnected nature of these cities facilitated the spread and establishment of Christian communities. In contrast, rural areas and regions beyond the empire's borders maintained their pagan traditions longer, owing to less frequent contact with the central hubs of Christianity. Christian missionaries employed a thoughtful approach to converting pagans, adapting and transforming pagan customs into Christian practices. For instance, they allowed pagans to continue celebrating their traditional festivals but redirected these celebrations to honor Christian saints. This method of syncretism made Christianity more acceptable and relatable to pagan communities, easing the transition from pagan to Christian worship. The act of spreading Christianity to pagan regions was fraught with significant risks. Missionaries often risked their lives in these endeavors. In regions where pagan beliefs were still strong and deeply rooted, promoting Christianity and denouncing local deities was dangerous and could lead to severe backlash, including violence against the missionaries themselves. This underscores the commitment and bravery of the missionaries in their efforts to expand the Christian faith. An effective strategy used by missionaries was the renaming of significant pagan festivals after Christian saints, thereby preserving the traditional celebration dates and practices but altering their significance to reflect Christian beliefs. For example, the pagan celebration of the summer solstice was transformed into a celebration honoring Saint John the Baptist, known as St. John's Day or Midsummer. Missionaries from Ireland and England were notably influential in spreading Christianity in Western Europe. Figures such as St. Patrick, revered as the patron saint of Ireland, played a crucial role in converting large pagan populations to Christianity. These efforts were key to establishing Christianity across Western Europe during a time when pagan beliefs were still prevalent in many regions. Saint Viaticus, or Adalbert of Prague, exemplifies the extreme challenges faced by missionaries. In 997, he attempted to evangelize the Prussians but was martyred for his efforts. His mission and subsequent death highlight the often fatal consequences faced by missionaries in regions resistant to Christian teachings, exemplifying the ultimate sacrifice made by some in their zeal to spread Christianity. The martyrdom of Saint Brenonas, also known as Boniface, holds historical significance beyond his missionary work. His death in 1009 near the borders of Rus and Lithuania is noted as the first mention of Lithuania in written sources. This event provides a crucial historical marker for the region and underscores the intersection of religious expansion and historical documentation. Overall, the spread of Christianity during the Roman Empire and into the medieval period was marked by strategic adaptation of local traditions, significant personal risks taken by missionaries, and a profound impact on the cultural and religious landscape of Europe. These efforts not only spread the Christian faith but also shaped the historical narrative of the regions involved. Christianization and its impact on medieval Europe. During the 10th and 11th centuries, the process of Christianization in Europe typically occurred through the baptism of a ruler. This top-down nature of conversion meant that once a ruler adopted Christianity, his subjects often followed, significantly shaping the religious landscape of a state. The conversion of a ruler not only marked a personal change but also set the stage for the broader acceptance of Christianity within his realm. The Pope played a crucial role in the recognition of newly Christianized European rulers by often crowning them himself or delegating this authority. This ceremonial act was more than symbolic, it legitimized the ruler's sovereignty and reinforced the pivotal role of the papacy in the political and spiritual realms of medieval Europe. This interaction between the papacy and secular rulers underscored the influence of the Church in state matters. The establishment of Christianity across Europe had profound cultural and intellectual impacts. It promoted the spread of the Latin language, which became the lingua franca for liturgical, academic, and administrative purposes across Christian Europe. The faith also fostered literacy, science, and the arts, deeply integrating Christian moral values and worldview into the societal fabric. This transformative effect created a common cultural and intellectual heritage that significantly influenced laws, traditions, and the general outlook of European peoples. Christianity's influence on medieval European governance and law was substantial. Christian moral and ethical values were deeply integrated into legal frameworks and governance structures, often serving as the basis or justification for laws and traditional practices. This religious influence was instrumental in shaping societal norms and public policy, helping to stabilize and unify various regions under a set of values and principles derived from Christian teachings. Moreover, Christianity played a crucial role in unifying a politically and linguistically fragmented Europe by offering a common religious and cultural foundation. This shared Christian identity helped bridge diverse national and linguistic divides, enhancing communication and cooperation among various European peoples. The Church's influence extended into legal, artistic, and moral realms, providing a cohesive set of values and beliefs that spanned the continent. However, the religious landscape was not without division. The split between Catholicism in Western Europe and Orthodoxy in Eastern Europe created distinct cultural areas within the Christian civilization of Europe. This divergence was not merely a matter of different religious beliefs or practices but also influenced various aspects of cultural identity, including art, literature, and governance. These religious differences entrenched a lasting cultural divide that shaped the historical, cultural, and political trajectories of the regions, affecting their development well into the modern era. The impact of these developments during the medieval period set foundational aspects of European culture and society that are still observable in the various traditions, legal systems, and cultural norms of contemporary Europe. In conclusion, the Christianization of Europe during the medieval period was a cornerstone event that significantly shaped the continent's historical and cultural contours. The integration of Christian values and ethics into European governance and law helped forge a collective identity that transcended regional and linguistic differences, facilitating a sense of unity and common purpose across the continent. As Europe evolved from a collection of fragmented territories into a more cohesive entity, the role of Christianity as a unifying force became evident, laying the groundwork for the modern nations of Europe and influencing their development in fundamental ways. This enduring legacy highlights the powerful role of religious beliefs in shaping not only spiritual life but also societal structures and cultural norms.